there's cameras everywhere, there's microphones everywhere, you're constantly being
Yes.
monitored, you're constantly being watched. Is that true?
Yes, it's absolutely true. I realize that China will eventually reach Canada if we don't fight to stop them.
What happened and what did they do to you?
The national police showed up without any notice. You just knock the door and take the people. And some of my relatives got taken.
And you and your family also received death threats, didn't you?
Yes, constantly. We used the AI-generated fake nude photo of me just to disgust everyone and put out there in the social media, post them even on the comment sector of then our Prime Minister Trudeau's account. We put up all our family members' information out there, the name, the date of birth, my IDs in China. So my whole family's information has to be revealed to everyone. We have no choice. We cut all the ties with our family members. So this is the country that Canadians think that you can do business with, and you can cozying up with. I don't think so.
Over the past few years, Canada's relationship with China has become one of the most sensitive and least explained issues in our politics in Canada. For most Canadians, that conversation remains abstract. It exists in trade figures, diplomatic statements, and biased press releases. But for some, it is not abstract at all. It is personal and it is suffocating. Today, we are joined by Yao Zhang. She was born and raised in China, immigrated to Canada with her family as a young adult, and for most of her life, she lived here quietly and privately. That changed during the pandemic when she began speaking publicly about the Chinese Communist Party, Taiwan, and authoritarian influence. What might sound like something out of a Hollywood thriller is, for her, everyday life. She has been repeatedly targeted by the People's Republic of China, and as a result, she lives in, her words, on an island of isolation to protect herself and her family. Her targeting has been reported by the CBC and acknowledged by Global Affairs Canada as a part of a documented intimidation campaign by the PRC aimed at Chinese language commentators in Canada and their families. Yao, thank you for your courage and thank you for joining us on Northern Perspective.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
So it's interesting because we became aware of you and your work just from an X post that you had shared. And that was, I think, mirrored on your YouTube channel. And it was cautioning people about the dangers of the People's Republic of China and the recent deal that Mark Carney had committed us to there. But before we get to that, can you talk to us about your life growing up in China, what that was like under a communist regime, and the differences between everyday life in China versus Canada?
I would say that people grow up in China are always constantly under propaganda and censorship. So let me just give you an example. Like when I was a young child, when I went to like the primary school, like around like not even 10 years old, we start to go to see those movie like portraying Japanese are very, very bad people, and they would kill people, rape young women. And as a young kid, when you see that very closely, like they wouldn't hide those details for the children like people do here, right? So that makes you like hate Japanese so much. And I was the same at that young age, because you don't have any other option. Like if you witnessed that on the screen, you cry and you hate, and that's it. And also there's a constant censorship. So when I was in high school, I wrote something like playing the word of Communist Party of China. So let's say, like, you are supposed to say Communist China, Communist Party of China. Like, I said something like Communist China. Like, I just played the word 共产党. Instead, I said 共党. So that shows a bit of disrespectful to the party, right? You are not supposed to like change the word, use the CCP, like this kind of thing. You are supposed to speak it in full. So my mom was caught into the school, and my teacher told her that your child will bring great danger to your family if you don't stop her doing this, and the Cultural Revolution will come back. At that time, the Cultural Revolution has already stopped, and but she went through that. She's like a elderly lady, so she told my mom, like in a kind way, to say that your daughter will bring great danger to your family. It's time for you to ask her to stop. And that's all I did. I didn't see anything bad for the Communist Party. I just played the word a bit.
So to kind of put an equivalent, that would be, let's say, we had the
let's
had
say you have Liberal Party, and
Liberal Party of Canada.
Instead of Liberal Party of Canada, you see the LBC. You know, in a like playful way.
And that could bring danger upon my family saying that.
At that time, my mom was told that. But my mom is a person with great courage. She didn't think she's supposed to like punish me on that. So I just got away with it. And my teacher was kind to me. That's just a warning to say that if you go down this path of being playful with the communist regime, you would end up very badly. So, but that censorship is always there. Like I know what would happen if I criticize them. So that's why when our family immigrant to Canada, I feel so relieved from this constant fear of, if I said something wrong, if I do something wrong, me and my family will be in danger. So I still remember the moment the plane hit the ground. I know I'm in the land of free.
Now, there's a lot of stories about China, but unfortunately, there's not a lot of reporting of China over here in the West. Is it like people will have us believe it is, where there's cameras everywhere, there's microphones everywhere, you're constantly being monitored, you're constantly being watched? Is that true?
Yes, it's absolutely true. So even now, like if you let's say like some in the old days when people didn't realize that the government is constantly supervising you, some people bring your phone to a meeting with some like-minded people who are also like not necessarily against the communist regime, just let's say complain about things go bad in your everyday life, and they got tracked down because they bring their phone into the meeting. And then everybody knows that, okay, leave your phone outside. So it's everywhere. It's your phone, It's because they forced you to put some app here, like in the phone, that which can track you down, and of course all the cameras, all those kind of thing. And if you have a low social security score, like low social credit score, which basically can just mean that you owe some money, or you didn't behave very well under China's rules. So, and your children may not be able to go into good schools. You are not allowed to take this high-speed train. And your children are not allowed to be a government official. I mean, your children. The punish doesn't stop at you. The punish never stop at you in China.
So this is orchestrated from the top all the way down to the bottom of
It's
Chinese
systematic.
society
It's designed
to ensure
that way.
compliance.
Exactly. And it goes back to the core of communism. My mom growing up treating as a bad person because her parents own a land. That's all it takes. The sin is my grandparents own a land. And she's not allowed to go to university because of that.
Okay. So that gives us a glimpse, and I'm sure we could talk about this for hours on this, and I'd love to dive deeper into that in the future. But talk us through where your family reached the point where a decision was made. We need to get out of here. We need to move to Canada. How did that decision come about, and how were you successful in leaving?
My mom always want to immigrant to a democratic country, but never had the chance to. But then she had the chance to have several months like teachers training program in Canada, and she really liked Canada. And she came back and checked with all those immigration system, and realized she can be fit into the skilled worker program which the federal has, and went through the whole process. Everything was good, and I was a university student when she applied, so I came here as part of the family. Yeah, and we chose Quebec because we want to learn another language. Bonjour.
So did you already know English while you were in China then?
Yeah, I learned English. I have to say this, but China was a bit open during that period of what people right now call the reform period. But that reform period only reached the economic level. It never go into the politics side. But at least at that point, people realize that to get rich, you have to do business with USA. You have to learn English to earn money from USA. You have to do this. So Chinese people start learning English, and we learn English at schools. But right now, like in some schools, like they don't test your English level anymore, which means gradually Chinese will lose this ability to communicate with the people outside of China. And this is part of the whole process of China closing down. Like basically China is going downturn. Like there's a sharp decline on economic, and also like they were harsh on the more like harsher than before on the dissidents in China. So that's why it makes Canada's move so dangerous. Like they are not like there's no excuse anymore. In the past, people doing business with China looking forward to a possibility of a political transformation after the economic transformation. But right now, everything is going down in China. and there's no excuse. There's no excuse of doing this anymore. Yeah.
So when you learned that you were going to be moving to Canada, was there a combination of fear and excitement?
Yeah. The fear is only about what if something went wrong. So I remember my mom was shopping for things, and I asked my mom that if something went wrong, Canadians don't let us in, all the things we buy would be, you know, uh, wasteful. At that time, I don't have any trust in legal system or in people's promise because that's nothing in China. So and it's many years after I immigrated to Canada, I realized there's such thing as a law which people are supposed to believe in, and if people say so, people mean so, and people do so. None of that exists in China. So I was like, okay, yeah, I know we have the visa. I know we can lawfully go into Canada. Canadians welcome us as lawful immigrants. But what if something went wrong? Maybe someone just don't like me and kick me out like the Chinese would do. So I was like in this fear of something go wrong. But yeah, and I remember my mom was really mad at me because that's what we hope that means so much for us. Yeah, Canada is a dream come true. Even now, I sit somewhere in Canada, and I'm like, I'm so lucky to be in this country. I mean, of course, before Kanye did what he did. Yeah.
So let's jump forward to the pandemic. So the pandemic happens, the lockdowns happen, and you started your YouTube channel back then.
Yes.
And you started speaking out, but you didn't start speaking out about necessarily things that were happening in Canada, but it was more targeted towards the People's Republic of China. Is that right?
Well, I always follow Canadian news regarding to China. So if you go to my YouTube channel, there is a playlist called Canada, but I talk them in Mandarin. I'm always aware that China's interference into our election, the fentanyl problem, the gun problem related to China, the gambling industry they have, their possible link with Canadian officials. I was all aware of this, and I keep doing content on that. But at that time, I still think Canada is relatively safe. It's just there's things here and there needs to be catched up. So yeah, I think I was a bit naive. Actually, I started to do that channel because I realized that China will eventually reach Canada if we don't fight to stop them. That's what COVID is, right? COVID comes from China and reach us and kill Canadians. So I was like, remember I told you that when the plane land in Canada, I feel I leave all those nightmares behind. And COVID makes me realize that no, it's coming after me. It's not coming after me, but it's coming after Canadians. It's coming after democratic free world. So I feel there's a responsibility there for me to speak out. It's not only because that I came from there. It's also because I'm still considering myself Chinese since I was born there, and this was my government, and my government did all these things to Hong Kongers, Uyghurs, Taiwanese, and I feel a deeply shame on that government and that country. And I call Canada my home and my country, but that was my past. So I think that, okay, I'm going to do something. First, stop them so that they can never reach Canada. And second, this is part of my responsibility. So I did that channel in Mandarin to support Taiwan, support Hong Kongers, support Tibetans, Uyghurs. Yeah, and it never occurred to me that Like Taiwan is still there, but Canada is in danger now.
So you had almost an awakening in realizing, and it seemed like almost a symbolism that COVID creeped its way around the world from China, and that seemed to be a moment of realization for you that China itself is trying to creep its way around the world,
Exactly.
and if
It
we
didn't
are not
stop at its
vigilant,
border. Yeah, it
right,
didn't stop at its border. No.
right, and there's there's some evidence, and this has been discussed in Parliament and in the media about these so-called Chinese police stations that are around the country. What do you know about them? And from what you know, are they still operating?
Well, uh, I was there before I was aware of all these things going on because there was this institution in Montreal, uh, like to serve Chinese speaking people. Uh, and I went there to seek help when I need to know how to do tax, when I need to join a group of people going to picking apples, like a group activity among Mandarin speaking people. So I was there. They have my information there, and then what happened was uh I went to volunteer for one of their activity, and the Falun Gong practitioners were there in that activities as well, but not with them, but like a separate activity, like to participate in that. I think it's a parade of Quebec's national parade or something like a Quebec National Day parade or things like that. And so the person who like take care of volunteers uh, told me that we need to send someone to fight with the Falun Gong people. I was like, why are you going to send people to fight with them? They said, oh, because we receive money from Chinese government. I said, I thought you were Canadian and Quebec government funded organization to help immigrants here. What's going on? She said, yeah, we got majority of our funding from Canadian government and Quebec government, but we get a little bit of money from Chinese government. And because of that, we will do things they ask us to do. For example, when Falun Gong practitioners were there, we will fight with them. For example, Chinese government officials like then Prime Minister came to Canada, we will wave PRC flags to show that you are welcome here. Small things like that. So I was really surprised and really scared of that. So I had never participated in their event anymore. And after that, the whole thing became public about this overseas police station. So basically, that's what they told me. They receive money from the Chinese government and they do things according to their request from the embassy. Does that include transferring Mandarin speaking people's file to them when they need to? I really don't know. But from what the Chinese part of describing this overseas Chinese police station, it seems so. Yeah.
Did it alarm you that they had all your information?
Yes. So luckily I moved already at that point. But the point is, they disguised as a immigrant service like group organization, which mainly funded by Canadian and Quebec government. So nobody would question their intention. Nobody.
Yeah.
And after this thing go to public, the people who in charge of that organization, Li Xixi, she was under like investigation, but she got away with it. RCMP dropped the charges on her, and she sued RCMP back. So there may be still some lawsuit going on, but they just said that, oh no, we were not Chinese overseas police station. If you are talking about having a real Chinese police there. I don't think so. But did you do things according to Chinese government's order? Yes. I was there. I heard about what they talk. Yeah.
So this brings us to relatively recent times. After you started speaking out publicly on your YouTube channel, getting some traction, gaining views, evidently the government of the People's Republic of China became aware of that, and you were targeted. So I'll just, for those that may not know, what happened and what did they do to you?
So it all starts when I came back from Taiwan's presidential election in 2024. Maybe I made too much noise, I don't know. But before that, I already did some activist work, not only my YouTube channel. Like I went out to protest during Chinese white paper revolution. I organized the first ever protest from Chinese people in front of Chinese embassy in Montreal. And also I went to Ottawa to interview and to question why those Chinese people were there against the foreign agent registration law, and got hate by I believe it's a Chinese agent, and he hit my hand, and my phone dropped and stopped the live streaming. And I reported this to the Canadian police, and they decided to not pursue with the case because the guy said he was scared when he rushed to me and I moved my phone like this to this person because I was scared. I want to film what he did. All I did was this. And he said he was so scared that he hit my hand. And anyway, so all this happened. And I think it's kind of hard for Chinese government to track me down because like my mom is with me in Canada. And the only person they can reach is my aunt, my grandma, but they still decide to harass them. So like after I came back from Taiwan, I got the news that they were being threatened. Some of my
And your aunt is
relatives,
back in China, correct?
yeah, my aunt was being like the national police showed up without any notice. You just knock the door and take the people. And some of my relatives got taken to the police station and questioned. They know nothing. They knew nothing about what I did. Yeah, but they still drag them down. And after that, we have no choice. We cut all the ties with our family members. And 1 year later, my grandma made the last call with my mom. And 1 month after that last call, she died. So the last year of my grandma's life, we can't contact them as we wish. And and it didn't work out. They really wanted to stop me, didn't get any success there. So he put up a smear campaign out there, claiming that I'm a CIA agent. I receive American government's money, which I received none whatsoever. I received Taiwanese government's money. I received nothing. And sorry, every time I got talk about this, I got so I got so mad at them. And they said I had an affair with my stepbrother, and they put up all our family members' information out there, the name, the date of birth, my IDs in China. It's still out there on their website, claiming that I'm a bad person, and so that my whole family's information has to be revealed to everyone. And still didn't work out. So we used the AI generated fake nude photo of me just to disgust everyone and put out there in the social media, post them even on the comment sector of then our Prime Minister Trudeau's account. That's how Canadian government discovered what's going on, and they contacted me saying that like they are trying to help me. They did. They eventually contact the Chinese embassy in Canada, and somehow things like this AI generated fake nude photo campaign stopped. Yeah.
Do you think it's because it was getting too much political publicity? Do you think that's why it ended up stopping?
Yeah. I think when I fed back, that's always how things work. You fed back, and in this way, somebody helped you. Canadian government back then helped me, and things stop. Things just won't stop when you compromise. No.
And you and your family also received death threats, didn't you?
Yes. Constantly. Right, even just when I started my channel, people send something like, in 7 years, all your families will be hung on the door or something like that. I was like, okay, what does that in 7 years mean? Now I know it, because that means in 7 years, Canada may be part of China. They know it. That's Chinese Internet Army. I did this channel for 5 years. So we are in 2 years in time frame for Canada to be part of China. And I got like, I still remember one that really make me really upset, which said that tomorrow your mom will get hit by a car. Constant. Yeah.
Let's talk about that, because a lot of Canadians have been watching and hearing about what the PRC has done, continues to do. And a lot of Canadians are angry just hearing the surface level things. The vast majority of Canadians don't know about stories like yours. They know about 2 of our Canadian-born citizens being abducted, the 2 Michaels. They know about they know a little about the Uyghur genocide and how the Uyghurs been treated over there. They know about Tiananmen Square. They know about, at least some of them know about, how our politicians have been threatened because they voted against China's interests. They know about, at least some of them know about, the interference in our elections. They've heard about the Chinese police stations. But what they may not know is there's so much underneath all of that, which is what your story is an example of. And you are not alone in this, right? Like, there are thousands of Canadians that have immigrated from China across Canada that have similar stories like yours, right?
I don't know how many out there have experienced this kind of like this level, but I know a lot of people. You see, the point is, when you back down, things get quiet, right? So I believe that this is not majority of Chinese Canadians can bear with, and like, unfortunately, majority of Chinese Canadians are still under some sort of propaganda influence. Because let me tell you, there is a fair wall between China and free world, right? So Chinese government did that because not only that they can separate the internet and censor the internet in China, it's also, let's say, like, Chinese living in China using these apps that only Chinese use. And everything has a mirrored version in China. So X here has one version there called Weibo. YouTube here has a version there called Bilibili, whatever. So like they got used to all these things and they follow the people they like. They contact family members using all these apps. So the Chinese immigrant, or let's say like they study or work in the free world, but still using these apps. So basically you are still living in a whole propaganda world. So I moved out of those apps because I was constantly being censored. So, but I know majority of Chinese Canadians choose to stay there, to be with their family, friends, and do what they used to do. And that creates a bubble, information bubble, like full of propaganda within the overseas Chinese community, which makes majority of them still under some sort of propaganda influence. And then among those people who has clear mind about what's going on, when they got this kind of pressure, I think it's reasonable for them to back down.
Well, yeah, especially because if they have a lot of family still back in China, that's a big
Especially your
risk.
parents.
Yeah, that's a
Especially
big
your
risk,
parents.
and the fear is that national police will knock on their door and then they will disappear.
Well, I have to say that majority of overseas Chinese Canadian who critiques China choose to cut the tie like what I did, and after that they will be left alone. But that's the sacrifice there. To make sure they are safe, you have to cut tie completely, and that's a big suffer, especially when the person you have to cut tie with is your parents.
Well, and to me, it's similar because you either maintain ties and you still may lose your family, or you cut ties but you lose your family. But at least cutting those ties, you have some degree of hope and confidence that they will be safe from what you're doing,
Yes.
and at least you are living true to yourself and true to your beliefs. And again, like we talked before the show, and I was telling you how much respect that Tanya and I have for you, and that's not something that people can do lightly, is to just cut ties to their family just because, or not just because you know what the Chinese government has been doing and has been operating is wrong, and it needs to be called out, and people need to know the truth. And sometimes the truth has a high price.
Well, but I think that the point is that if nobody is going to do this, we are going to lose Canada, and Canadians will suffer as Chinese do. So that makes me go on. It's not only for me and my family. Of course, my mom and me, I want us to be safe. But what's the other options? What's the option of staying silent? What's going to be sacrificed there? So I think Canadians need to ask themselves that, yeah, of course, there is always a danger to speak out. Like even now, because of the post you were talking about, I was being shouted at, go back to China. But I don't want Canada to become a place like China. And that's, like Canadians are freedom-loving people and enjoying a democratic and free lifestyle. Imagine that becoming Chinese people's fate now is unbearable.
Right. So that brings us all the way to Mark Carney and the current Liberal government. And we said on our channel that the reality is in today's world, you have to trade with China. That's unavoidable, and I think people can understand that. But trading with China is a lot different than announcing a strategic partnership with China. That's announcing, a cultural exchange with China, shipping more uranium to China, allowing the Chinese state subsidized electric vehicles that will vastly undercut the competition in Canada. Um, what was your reaction, and what have you heard from other Chinese Canadians in terms of their reaction to that decision by Mark Carney?
Oh, I think it's a very, very wrong decision. And I think it's based on the naivety of either Carney or the whole current government. Because a lot of Canadians don't understand. This is not the China it used to be. Let me give you a story. Like 2008, I was still in university, and that's when the world has an economic depression. And my teacher who learned overseas and came back to teach in my university said, China saved the world. US is doomed, West is doomed, China saves the world. That's 2008. And after that, China treat its partners or people who want to do business with them very differently, gradually, very differently. So a lot of people said, oh, before Canada trade with China, we were okay. Before Canada has cooperation on the placing, we were okay. But that's a very different China. Right now, like when you say that, yeah, of course you have to diversify our trade, you have to do business with China. But nowadays, doing business with China comes with the price, and the price is always the national security, 100%. The minute I know Carney going to China sign a trade deal, I said, he will sacrifice our national security for sure, because I know China. That's what China wants. If you don't give them our national security, there's no trade. And that's what Carney did. He sacrificed our national security. He sacrificed our relationship with US. And he think he will get a trade. And China is on a sharp decline. He won't get nothing. He will get almost nothing back, and sacrificing our country. And other Chinese Canadians, sorry about that, but majority of them are still celebrating because they believe that a strong China and a strong Canada against a bully US is good. And they don't, as I said, they were under propaganda influence, so they don't really think China is a very, very bad partner. But people who are like me, who criticize China, has the same or similar concern like me.
So where do we go from here? Yeah, where do we go from as Canadians? Let me just say you found a new family in Canada, which is all of the Canadians that are around you. Where do we go from here to ensure that we do not suffer the same fate as China? And how do we as regular Canadians speak out and fight back against this?
Let's see. Let's start some really simple thing. Ask the question. You criticize China. I criticize China. Will we be safe under this new partnership in this so-called new world order under Carney? Will RCMP betray our trust in them? What's the guardrail there? Journalists started to ask questions. What's the guardrail there? Nobody can answer in our government. Nobody. And ask questions, support people like you and me, and let's fight back. We have a chance to fight back in Canada. I have no choice of fighting back in China for my family there, but I have the chance here. Let's do it.